What if I told you zombies are real?
I just wanna be a boss, but the bullshit throwing me off. I turn my headphones up and get lost and I'm gone.
Welcome to this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. My name is Dominique Mohammed. Today, I have my friend Bill on the show with me. Bill is a cancer survivor. He has overcome cancer of the head and the neck. So thanks for coming on the show today with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Please share just a little bit of background on yourself before we hop into this.
Sure thing. 61-year-old man, grew up here in the United States, traveled abroad, lived a very healthy life, always been in pretty good shape, took care of myself. Was eating Thanksgiving dinner one afternoon and bit down and felt a toothache. But I have a mouthful of dental implants, so I can't have a toothache. The next day I ended up at the dentist, and the dentist checked me over, pulled out the implant, said he couldn't find anything. But he did feel a bump underneath my jawbone, and he encouraged me strongly to go to a doctor right away. Within 3 or 4 weeks later, they said to me, "You've got squamous cancer, and it's head and neck. And this is serious, and you need to do something about it right away." And I ended up in front of an oncologist. Very scary to have it happen. In the beginning, it was disbelief. I didn't want to believe that that could happen to me. Like I said, I play hockey, work out. Here I am feeling really strong. And the doctor said to me that if you wait till you feel this, you will not come through this. So that's how it all started out for me.
Wow, that's crazy. So, what stage were you at when you were originally diagnosed?
Stage 2 is what he said to me, was the number that he would put on it. And he told me that from, let's say, stage 0 to stage 2 was slow and steady, and that from 2 to 4 would be very rapid if we did not move right away.
Yeah.
So after some thought and some prayer and discussion with my children and my family, we decided to go with Cancer Center of America, who took care of me, comprehensive cancer in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I chose a surgeon here in Las Vegas, Nevada, Dr. Scott Matthew. And between the two of them, they started in on my care.
Okay, so how did you go about like picking your doctor, and like did you trust your doctors?
Oh, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in your doctor, that means inside your head there's doubt. And when you start to fight cancer, you have to come to peace with yourself. Everybody can give you advice, but inside your soul, you have to be able to say to yourself, I think I can beat this, and I know I have the right people working on me. So like anybody, I went to the internet. I started talking to people in cancer groups, who they thought, what they thought. I did research on the type of cancer that I have. I'm an engineer, so being the egghead that I am, I spend time looking into things. Mm-hmm. And I came down to, comprehensive cancer here in Las Vegas. They have a decent track record with the type of cancer that I have. Let's go talk to them and see what they can do. My cancer oncologist was Dr. Dow. And Dr. Dow sat me down, and from the very beginning, he was a very straight shooter. He doesn't try to candy coat. And I told him I didn't want that. I wanted him to tell me exactly what he thought. And between him and my radiation doctor, the radiation doctor told me, "Bill, you're going to hate me before this is over with." And at first, when I started these procedures, first the chemotherapy, I did 17 sessions. First 4 or 5 sessions, I'm thinking, this is nothing. Well, let me tell you, be prepared, because in a period of time, that chemotherapy is going to hit you. And when it does, there were points where I was laying on the floor or laying on the bed, and you don't even have controls of bodily functions, I must tell you. Mm. And then with the radiation, I have photos of me from my mouth line down underneath my neckline, where the flesh and meat is falling off of me because the radiation cooked me so bad. To this day, I still have no ability to generate saliva in my mouth. I have to keep a pill in my mouth all the time in order to have that happen. I have to dilate twice a week at my house, and that really comes down to taking an object about 25 inches long, 5/8 of an inch diameter, drinking lidocaine, waiting 10 minutes, and sliding this device and swallowing it until it's down. So I can get a job as a sword swallower if I want today. because of my regular
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
But those are things you live with this type of cancer. But other than that, I live a normal life today. But what I found is that you have to believe, number one. Number two, you have to listen to your doctors. Number three, you cannot cheat yourself when it comes to getting rest. When your body says, I'm tired, you need to lay down and take a nap. When your body says it's time to sleep, it is time to sleep. That is when it's healing the most, is when those things go on. Look, you can't cheat. I've been to the cancer center and seen people standing out front smoking at the cancer center before they go back inside. And they test you constantly. So like Dr. Dow said to me, he said, Bill, I have people who come in here all the time and I look at their blood work and their tests and I can see they're not eating the right foods, they're not resting properly, they're smoking, they're drinking alcohol. He said, and if you want the full effect of the treatment, you better be prepared to make sacrifices.
Right.
That's what it's really all about. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So how during this time or during this journey, how is your family and like the people that cared about you, like how have they reacted and responded to like this news and how you're doing with the treatments?
Of course, my mother and father's sides of the family both had cancer in them, so I joke with people that I come from the bottom of the DNA bucket.
Okay.
It wasn't surprising to be told that I had cancer in one way because of both sides of my family. But of course, it was tough on my brothers, sisters, parents, my children. Both of my children happened to be RNs.
Okay.
And
Wow.
very experienced in the medical field.
Yeah.
So, they looked at it from a medical thing that they wanted me to fight. And I did that. My wife is Japanese. She grew up in Tokyo in Ginza. My wife is the sweetest, softest soul you'll ever meet. I had grave concerns that my wife was mentally going to be able to deal with this without having a breakdown. Wow, was I mistaken.
Yeah.
My wife stood tall. I cannot tell people how proud of her, how much I am proud of her. And an absolutely amazing woman.
That's good.
That woman dealt with me while I was down and took care of me every day by my side. I cannot say enough good about her. I can't thank her enough. And she amazes me still to this day of the way that she took care of me and still does today. So sometimes the people that you think may not be able to deal with it, wow, do they deal with it well.
Yeah.
And others that I thought might be a rock seem to have a harder time accepting what it is.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in God. I was before cancer and I am now. And I do believe that God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And no matter what your God is, I do believe they're all a God of mercy.
Mm-hmm.
It's your decision inside to make as to how you really want to fight this. And those are easy words, but you fight it every minute, every hour, every day. That's what you do. You don't think about the next 10 days. You think about the moment. I'm going to get through this moment because it's going to get better eventually.
Right.
And soon it does. The days of driving back and forth to the cancer center to get chemotherapy, and how towards the end, I just had to take it one literal step at a time to be able to walk from the car to inside the cancer center, back to the car, to the bed, or the radiation. When the burns were so bad on my neck and the pain was so intense that you deal with it, all I got to do is make it through. Just another minute, just another hour. I'm going to make it through this. It's not a problem. Yeah. And soon you're finished with the radiation. And as days pass by, the burning starts to heal and the pain becomes less and you get through it. That's the battle.
Yeah. So what were some of the toughest things that you went through during this journey? And what were some of the easier things that you would say that you went through, maybe that you didn't even expect?
I guess one of the things is that with my personality, at first sitting home and spinning it through your head, allowing cancer to spin in your head is really bad. Okay, because you can talk yourself into pain, you can talk yourself into getting worse, and what you have to do is you have to keep yourself busy. And what I realized is I am an alpha personality. I have always been a leader in what I do, and so I went back to work. I called my bosses and said I want to work, and they were very encouraging of it. They said whatever you want to do, you can, Bill. So I literally dove right back into work, and people would say, Bill, aren't you fighting cancer right now? And I would say yes. But if my mind is on work, if my mind is on something and not thinking about cancer, that clock spins around. You know how we all say to each other, right?
Yeah.
When we're busy, the clock moves
Yeah.
faster. Well, let me tell you, if you keep yourself busy, even with cancer. Now, there were 2 months where I couldn't do much of anything whatsoever. But I would lay in that bed with a laptop on top of me, and I would do emails or make calls just to try to take my mind off some of what was going on with me. Some of the easier things to deal with, let's face it, you get catered to when you get cancer, right? I mean, so many people, if they hear the word cancer, oh, please come to the front of the line. Oh, please let us do this for you. So, human beings are beautiful. And I truly do believe that when they see people who are sick, people step up to say, what can I do to help you?
Right.
And people that you don't even know, but they find out. This guy, I had the outpouring of love towards me and the support was unbelievable. People who told me they loved me that I never knew.
Yeah.
It was life-changing. I struggled with some things in my life like empathy, like for forgiveness, because of personal things in my family. But when you're laying there all the time and you have a lot of time to think about it, you think about those things.
Right.
And several things happened to me spiritually while I was sick with this that made me face some issues that I had to face and helped me become a better person. Well, at least according to my wife. Let's put it that way.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I know for me personally, during my journey, I continued to go to school, and at one point I was flying back and forth to Oregon from Nevada. I was flying back and forth every 2 weeks to get a treatment, and I was still going to school, but it helped like give me a sense of normalcy. Right? Like it felt like so, and like you say, it kept your mind off of what was going on and helped you kind of take it step by step. Definitely.
I fought cancer through COVID. So that was hard in itself because, hospitals don't want to treat you and such. I was blessed that the director of USC, Uttam Sinha, medical, he literally would tell the hospital, I'm operating on him on this date. And they listen to the director of the hospital, right? Whereas up here, my ENT up here would say, well, I need to go into you on this date, but the hospital won't support me because of what's going on with COVID. So there were challenges. There certainly were. The other thing I will say is this. I'm 61 years old. I've been going through this now since I was 57, 58 years old. Okay. That's a period of life where you also start to slow down a lot because you're older.
Yeah.
And if the doctor told me that if I wasn't in the shape that I am in, at a guy my age and as active as I am, it would be worse.
Yeah.
A guy like you're in great shape. I look at you, you're young, you're full of energy, and you can fight better than you can when you get older. Because when you get older, it is the aches and pains and many things that go along with that's a lot harder. That's all.
Yeah.
As far as the types of cancer, you and I certainly have much different types of cancer that we've been through. But I think we share a bond in the idea that when you, like they say, when you hear the words "you've got cancer," it changes the way you look at life. Period. It certainly did for me. In 2022, I was selected as one of the cancer patients of the year down there at USC in California, and I had the honor of going down and speaking to roughly 150 to 200 people in an auditorium, all of which who had cancer and their families.
Wow.
And to answer questions, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was a blessing to sit there, but it was also an opportunity to meet many other people who had cancer like me. And my doctor would always look at me and he'd say, "You're my star patient." And I let it go in one ear and out the other, and you don't know why. But then when you meet these other people, and I realized how blessed I am to be in the shape I'm in today, living the life that I'm living today. And I realized, wow, there's so many other people that are so less fortunate. Cancer crippled them, really, really changed their lives. And besides the few things that I've pointed out, I play ice hockey today, softball today. I work out every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. I pretty much can eat almost anything I want to eat, and and that's it. But I still am at the doctors a lot, having tests done.
Yep.
They're constantly poking me and prodding me, and I'm still part of the research program for USC. So they constantly want different types of samples of me in order to be able to be watching to see what's going on inside.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think definitely something that we have in common is like being in some type of shape. That like right, I was younger when I was diagnosed. I was 20 years old when I was first diagnosed, but I was in really good shape. And I think that helped like through a bunch of the chemo treatments that I was doing. I was still playing basketball most of the time. I had stopped like lifting weights, but my therapy was just like to just continue playing basketball as much as I could or couldn't. Obviously, I couldn't play like at the level that I was before, but it definitely helped me stay active. And then, going into, I did one bone marrow transplant, and then I did a second one. Going into the second one, I had just come off of tearing my Achilles, and I had just recovered. So I'm in like full like fledged physical therapy, like recovery mode already. And then it was like, oh, you got cancer again.
But it's amazing that your body would regenerate tissue and heal you, but yet you had cancer inside you at the same time.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
It's because you're young.
Yeah,
strong.
it's definitely
Absolutely.
being younger and stronger definitely played a part in being able to overcome what we've done. Also just being able to like the fit part is a big part, I think. Just being able to your body being able to withstand what you're going through. I know like when I went through my second bone marrow transplant, I had lost 30 pounds of like muscle, and so that was a big thing for me. That was a big adjustment in comparison to the first. The first transplant was way different. I recovered a lot faster. So definitely being in shape has carried through this entire, and then recovering now after this past bone marrow transplant, staying consistent with my workouts. You see me run in the morning and stuff like that has definitely helped me get to where I'm at right now for sure. I think that holds weight.
I think that what's parallel there is that doctors tell you, okay, you have cancer. Keep living your life normally. Keep doing all the things that you normally do, all the way up to the point where you just can no longer do them anymore because of the treatment pattern, chemotherapy, radiation. And then just as soon as you can, get back up on your feet, get back out there and start living like you did before. Push yourself physically, push yourself mentally, and you will continue to heal. But there will be that short period of time where you will be down and out. And you have to learn psychologically to accept, okay, this is the worst of the worst, and I'm going to make it through this thing. And that's how you deal with it.
Yeah. Definitely.
By the grace of God, and I have to add that. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that the power of prayer and people loving you, talking to you, communicating with you, keeps you mentally strong, and that you need to be that in order to make it through.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think kind of the mental attitude approach that I took with this. I remember when I first was diagnosed, my dad asking me, what do you think? Like, this is kind of scary, like how are you feeling? I'm like, I'm not really nervous because I'm 20 years old. I'm a very healthy kid. Like I'm in very good shape at this point. And we figure out I have cancer. I'm on like my second year of community college, I think, going into university now. And he asked like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I don't really feel anything bad or good. I'm just like, we just have to beat this. That was my mindset. It's just something that we have to beat. And like you said, like when I was diagnosed, I was surprised. I didn't think, you could get, you don't, I guess you don't ever think you could get cancer till you get cancer, and so I was super surprised, and I always have just tried to like lead by example, with my attitude in this whole thing, so that everybody else can kind of take that precedence and understand, like, hey, he's confident in what he has going on. He's going through it. If he can be confident about it, we should too. So I try to lead by example with that, so that I'm getting good energy from they're feeling good about it, and they're supportive, and feel like they're confident and this is going in the right direction. That's been a very important part of how I've tried to deal with this whole journey, for sure. I think that's been a big important part for it.
Well, you touched on your father.
Yeah.
It's a tough one for me. I'll do my best with this. My dad died 4 years ago, before I was diagnosed with cancer. My dad was the toughest human being I've ever met in my life. Highly decorated Marine, carried bullets around from him, inside him from the Korean War and another conflict. One night while I was laying in bed with cancer, I went to sleep, and my father came to me, and he pulled me. You have business here. It's not your time. I didn't understand what business means. Took some time for me to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
But I know how I was raised by him and how tough he was.
Right.
And I know that he didn't complain that he carried bullets around in him, and that he had a very tough life.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew one thing. If he could take what he went through, I wasn't going to quit this. Yeah. My mom's still here. My mom needs her children. Mm-hmm. So I then realized, wow, I have children and they need me too. So it was all of those reasons combined. But the night he came to me was I've never experienced like anything like that in my life. Yeah. But it certainly, when I woke up in the morning, things had changed. I looked at some things different. Mm-hmm. We're very blessed in life.
Yeah.
We're very blessed with who we are, where we live, what we have. Mm-hmm. I travel all over the world, and I'll tell you, I see people that have nothing who experience tremendous pain. Mm-hmm. And the ability to be able to have people around you that love you during difficult times is so important.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You and I are on the same page with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be nothing without the support I have from my family, everything that my mom does for me, everything that my dad showed me growing up. I live with my aunt and uncle currently. Everything that they've done for me and showed me through my life. Without all that support, I'm nothing.
Exactly.
I'm nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And family is what it's about, and people who love you. We all get hung up in this world too much with the negativity going on. Mm-hmm. And we don't take the time to look around at the love that's out there and the good that's done with people all the time. It's one of the reasons why I came when you asked me to do this is, right?
Yeah.
Now I feel like the guy upstairs kept me here for a reason. And I'm going to do whatever I can do to speak with somebody, help somebody if I can that's going through this. And maybe if it helps one person, then I've done something. Right? Because I still struggle every day inside with why did God keep me here? What's the purpose? And I like to think when you approached me that day, it was the guy upstairs working towards, okay, Bill, there's a way you can go try to help somebody.
Yeah. And that's the goal with this, is to ideally motivate and inspire people that, not only can you overcome some type of cancer, like us, but that you can overcome any challenge in your life, whether that's, challenge with work, challenge with relationships, with finances, challenges in school, with your health, like us,
When I was a little boy, my dad brought me to the Marine Corps. He used to take me to Marine Corps bases. And when we go to the Marine Corps base, it'd always take me to the barracks. And as a little boy, there was a sign above the door on every Marine Corps barracks. You want to know what it says?
What does it say?
Can't means I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I told you he was tough on us.
Yeah.
But he used to point at that. And if we, as kids, would use that word can't, he would come right at us like, what did you say?
Yeah.
See that? Means you don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay? And meant the power of positive thought, the power of pushing yourself. There's so much to be said to that. I'm a big believer that we only use a very small part of our brains, and that in years to come, we will learn ways to unlock more areas of our brain. And as we do, we will become more powerful. Because I believe that some people have found ways to dig into that, and they realize what being positive about things really means and what it can do for you.
Yeah, and they understand kind of the power of their mind and the way they think. Yeah.
It's easy to default to negativity. It's easy to take the down road.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
It's hard to take the high road.
Yeah.
And you have to put yourself in a position up here to say, I don't care what other people say. I'm going there.
Right.
It's not going to be easy, but I'm going there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's definitely, worth, the sacrifice, whatever, because what I always say is, right, whether it's easy, whether it's hard, whether you tried hard or not, at the end of the day, you're going to be tired. At the end of the day, you're going to be tired, you're going to go to sleep, and then you're going to get up and you're going to have another chance to do it again. So you can be tired knowing, that you tried hard and you gave it your best, or, you could be tired knowing that maybe I could have tried a little harder, right? And so
whether it's great athletes, whether it's people who have done great things for our world, you look at those people and you listen to them, and what do they say? You have to mentally push yourself beyond what you think you can do. And isn't that really what cancer has taught us both? Is that you don't think you can take this, but you can.
Right.
You're willing to push yourself a little bit further.
Yeah, it's just like the concept of like just doing one more, just
I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan.
Yeah.
Okay? And I was a big Kobe Bryant fan before Kobe's passing. And his mentality, I'm going to push myself beyond further than everybody else. Thus, I will end up better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And that mentality is what drove him to greatness.
Right.
Much like many of those other guys, no matter what sport it is, or even some of our world leaders who have said, I'm going to push myself. I'm not going to be popular, but we need to do this because this will be best for us in the long run.
In the long run. Exactly. Yeah, I have a Kobe Bryant tattoo on my knee.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah,
when
Kobe Bryant passed away, I went and got a tattoo.
And I did not know that.
Yeah.
But
I love Kobe Bryant.
I'm not a basketball aficionado, but I am an aficionado of people who will push themselves to the extreme to get something that they want. He was one of those people. He believed in himself.
Yeah.
And he believed in himself so much that he sold himself to other people. And then he demonstrated that he would do what he said he would do.
Right.
See, some people talk the talk.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to push themselves till it hurts.
Right.
He did that. That's the difference.
Yeah, like, what you say and what you do matches up, like you've made it. I feel like when that matches up, you're doing the right thing, you're thinking the right thing, you're taking the right actions, and you're really like you're creating in this life, the things that you want to create. I believe, right? I believe it is everything is a big mental battle. Like my basketball coach when I was little, we're in like 3rd, 4th grade. He would always tell us like 80% of the game, 90% of the game is played on the 6-inch playing field between the ears. That's what he would tell us. So it's in your head, right?
And some of my hockey coaches were that way. It's a mental game.
Yeah.
And I play a very physical game. I'm a pretty big guy.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, many of my coaches would say, Bill, it's not about how physical you're being out there.
Yeah.
It's here.
Playing, how smart you play, right? Because like at a certain point, the physical is pretty much all the same. It's it's about how you're using it in the right ways. Um, okay, cool. So how when you started to kind of overcome your cancer, like how did you feel about that? Like how did you feel knowing that like you've kind of made it through this journey, like you kind of got to the
It's
end point?
it first is very emotional the first time you go, right? So the first time I am in front of the oncologist and the doctors are at the table and they've looked at my records and the guy says, "I got some good news for you. These tests show your blood work's getting better. The the scans, PT scans, CT scans show that the cancer has shrunk back down." And all of those things. When they tell you that, you get this great sense of relief, right?
Right.
But then they tell you, listen, it could be shrinking and then it could come back. We need to continue. One of the things that oncologists warn me of is that many people, when they first start to get good results, they stop treatment
Yeah.
because they say, I'm heading in the right direction. I don't need to do anything else. And then it comes roaring back and they can't stop it
Yeah.
and they can't, eradicate it.
Mhm.
And that becomes a problem. And they said, I was very surprised that like 40% of the people who start the journey stop the journey,
Mhm.
and they stop it because of either mental or physical, or they think they've got it under control,
Yeah.
or they're convinced by other people that some other type of treatment, be it that treatment, something that's approved by the American Medical Association or some foreign land or some crazy cocktails of whatever, that they believe that's the best treatment for them, and they go in that direction, and it may or may not work. Let's face it, there's medicine all over the world that's thousands of years old, and the people have used and have been successful with it. And then there's some concoctions of things that people put together that maybe it isn't. I
Yeah.
think all of our DNA is a little bit different. And
Right.
as Dr. Sinha has said to me, he said, I'm not going to badmouth somebody else's medicine. If it works for one person, fantastic. It helped that one person.
Yeah.
But there's a big belief that in the future, it's all inside our DNA. And if they can unlock that DNA and those chromosomes and get to those particular components internal to you, that you have this predisposition for cancer and what's the triggering device. And
Yeah.
if they can identify it when you're just a baby and code it, cover it, isolate it so that it cannot be exposed to what it needs in order to grow. Some people seem to think that that's where we're going in the next 25 years or so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I
Right.
just know one thing for sure. I would love to hear the words that there's a cure out there and that other people don't have to go what you and I have been through.
Right. Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right, because they don't tell you really how you get it. They don't give you a lot of stuff that's in your control to do. To actually kind of take control of your situation. You have to have kind of like a lot of faith in, right, your belief in your doctors and your treatments and stuff like that. And there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of unknown.
Yeah, there is. I mean, with my type of cancer, there's a stigma that goes along with it. And I'll tell you, there's a couple of different type versions of the cancer that I have.
Mhm.
And one version is associated with things that we won't discuss here. And then there's another version. I don't have HPV. I've never had any sexually related diseases.
Yeah.
I have never done drugs.
Mhm.
I barely drink, if at all, ever.
Mhm.
And, there's no reason for me to have this. And USC in California has taken every sample on me that I can possibly think of.
Mhm.
And they're working away on it. They seem to think that maybe there's some things that have gone on that has to do with, be it the rotting in my teeth or the amount of antibiotics that I was given when I was a kid.
Mhm.
The combination of those two, maybe there's some things that they're working on long term, but there's other successes there as well.
Mhm.
People who get cancer of the bladder, kidneys.
Mhm.
The very first kidney transplant is going to take place here soon.
Oh
In the
wow,
United States.
that's
It's gonna be
crazy.
done at USC in California.
Yeah.
And again, it's cutting edge,
That's cool.
moving forward. In the future, you just don't know what's next. maybe the cure is on the horizon. I don't believe so.
Yeah, technology is really cool. Like, I'm 29 now, so I had cancer kind of on and off for like 9 years. And during that time, like some like I even noticed in my treatment stuff that changed. For example, when I got my first bone marrow transplant, I had two options. I could get an exact match. So I was in a database where I needed to find somehow an exact match of my DNA to get a donor to donate me their cells, or I could give myself my own cells at the time. So that was the option that I was able to do the first time, and it didn't work. So after the bone marrow transplant, I still had to do a different. I was still doing like a maintenance treatment that eventually did get me into remission.
Okay.
And so, but then after another 3 years, I had been in remission and I got cancer again. So then the next option was to do another bone marrow transplant. And so in about 3 years, they were able to now do half match transplants. So I now currently have my dad's cells because he was a half match, but right 3 years prior that was not an option. And so that's one thing that technology advanced so fast and that's gotten me into remission where I'm at now. And so like that was just a blessing. Also, so when I was diagnosed, the cancer that I have, Hodgkin's lymphoma, you have with the original treatment, you have a 70% chance to be cured. The treatment, I believe, is like ABVD is what the treatment is called, and it's a chemo regimen. Some of it is pills, and then some of it is IV. And I have a port in my chest, and so you have a 70% chance to be cured, and I was the 30% chance that it wasn't cured, right? So I was on the short end of the stick, I guess you could say, as far as, my type of cancer. But, the fact that we have cancers that are like treatable and like that you can do something with, like some people get cancers, they don't really understand what to do with that or how, and like you get an expected, term of life. I've had people in my life that got, a certain type of cancer and they have an expected life, and that's that. And they don't know how long or short that's going to be. And, and they have to kind of live with that and do all they can to fight it. But
my wife's father went through that.
Yeah.
He was diagnosed and told basically he had 4 months to live.
Yeah.
And he went to several places in the world to get different types of treatment, and they were able to extend his life out to about 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed.
Yeah.
But, you're right about what you say there. The specialist down at USC, I mean, I can't say it enough that once you've identified the type of cancer, you need to do the research and find out who are the leading specialists that take care of this particular type of cancer.
Right.
What they have told me now down there is that if they had seen me from moment one, that maybe they would not have done the radiation to me. They would have done the chemotherapy treatments to me. But then they would have gone with a different type of treatment that they have now that is new, that they've had some success with. Okay. So as you said, every day this is advancing. We're learning more about this. But I believe because our DNA is all a little bit different, there's certain things that work with certain DNA patterns, and that's what they're continuing to research, and hopefully they'll get to the point where they really have some solid answers for us. Right. I was fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time and have the right doctors, and by the grace of God, still yet.
Yeah, thank God for our doctors. And as my treatment process went along, I eventually was not doing an actual chemo treatment that was like breaking down my cells. And to fight my cells, it was like an immune therapy treatment that actually helped boost my immune system and kind of target the right cells in my body. And that's what actually helped me go into remission.
And that same immunotherapy is what Dr. Sinha at USC is saying he believes in the future will take the place of radiation.
Yeah.
He believes that's the road that will be taken by most doctors.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, how long have we been using chemotherapy and radiation to fight cancer, right?
Yeah.
But he believes the future path is immunotherapy and not radiation because of the amount of damage that it does. I'm the example of the damage that it does. Yes, did it stop and cure the cancer?
Right.
Yes, it did.
It did.
But at the same time, it caused quite a bit of damage internally to me.
Yeah.
And you got to live with that. So.
Yeah, like I know definitely the lowest parts of my journey were when I was getting ready to do my bone marrow transplant and going through my bone marrow transplants, because what they do is they take your body and they put you through full body chemo and radiation. They kill your cells so that they can't detect any cells in your body anymore. And so that was the lowest time. You have no cells, so you just have no energy. And you're just quarantined in the hospital for like a month or whatever that you're in the hospital, and then they inject you with your new cells, and then you just have to wait for them to start doing what they're supposed to do and multiplying your body until you're at a level where you can leave the hospital eventually, and then even then you're still on like pre-restricted protocol until right as you're recovering. So that's definitely the lowest points, right? Was full body chemo, full body radiation. Those were some of the toughest spots for sure. But we're here now. And we made it. So I have a question. What did you do? Like, did you lose your hair?
Oh, yes.
During this process?
Oh, yeah. I lost all my... It's funny.
But you got your hair, so...
I joke my brothers. Both my brothers don't have any hair at all. And I was always a joke with them that I got to keep my father's hair, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, along comes the radiation and the hair goes away, And then I'm wondering, is it ever going to grow back? And the doctor says to me, it will in time. And it's patchy still. It hasn't all grown back.
Yeah.
But also, hey, I'm 61 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to combine the fact that between the ages of roughly 57 and a half and 61, I've lived through this cancer experiment on top of the COVID, and I'm getting older, and you have to just accept some of these things that happen. The fact that I can still laugh and enjoy life a bit, I'm so thankful for that. And do I wish I had a full head of hair, man? I'd love to have a head of hair, but it is what it is.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I know. Like specifically, probably females feel it a lot more than we as men do.
I have a dear friend of mine. She lives here. She's fighting breast cancer and has been for quite a period of time. I've met her through the cancer, and she has fought a real battle, and she's doing better now. But like anything in life, she's left with what's happened to her, and she tries to be positive every day about the situation because she's still here, and a lot of people are not.
Yeah.
I have found at times that I have made friends.
Yeah.
Yourself, okay. To meet people like yourself that have been through these kinds of things, and there's a way to relate to them. To me, that. Wow, I identify what you've been through. And when I hear your story about the bone marrow part of it, man, I respect you. Man, I know what I went through is hard.
Yeah.
I can't imagine going through the bone marrow portion of it, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. We definitely been through some stuff, for sure.
And when you go to the hospital, you know what it's like to go to the hospital and see in the waiting room people with cancer. It tears your heart out when you see little kids. We had talked a little bit about it earlier, man.
Yeah.
You see it, you're thankful that you're healthy. You see other people and you pray. I still pray all the time for other people. And please find a way to help this person through this.
Right.
And that's it. And it's a test of you. It's a test of who you are and what you are.
Yeah.
Okay?
I believe that.
Right. You have days, I have days now where I'm in remission and I'm healthy. I say to myself, I'm so thankful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like, there is some stuff that's hard for me. Like, I'm still, like, pretty out of shape. I'm
I wish I was in
I'm still pretty out of shape.
29 years
old. I'm talking about like basketball shape though. Like I like to be able to run around and really play hard. I'm not full speed yet, where I want to be. I'm getting there, but and that's probably the hardest part for me right now. I've been able to kind of regain a lot of my strength, um, and get back to where I want to be in that aspect. And I look fine, you know.
If you took all your energy and put it into nothing but basketball, you would be there. But you're
Yeah.
taking the time to do things like this to
Yeah,
help other
yeah.
people. Okay? So you know there's only so many hours in
Yeah.
a day, right?
Yeah, when I was younger, I did have more time
Right.
to dedicate 100%. But I'm getting there, you know, because that's what I love to do is just be able to get out and run around. So yeah, that's definitely the toughest part for me. Just to kind of end this, are there any stories that you know that made an impact on you that you felt during this journey that you would like to share?
Well, I think I touched a little bit earlier on what happened when I talked to my dad in a
Yeah.
dream one night. He said to me, and what it really meant to me, that the other part is other people in my life. When I was a young man, my father had a very large family of 14, and his closest brother came down with cancer and died. And I literally watched my uncle, who was like my father's, he was like my second father, okay?
Yeah.
Where we lived, he lived across the street. When
Okay.
we moved, he bought a house down the street.
Yeah.
They were that close.
Yeah.
Every day we saw each other and spent time
Yeah.
together. And to watch him go from roughly 240 pounds to 90 something pounds and die as a young man left an impression upon me. Right? It just, and to watch him just slowly fade away.
Yeah.
But he tried to be upbeat with it the whole way.
Yeah.
And that was left a strong impression upon me.
Mhm.
And then the cancer center itself. To go to the cancer center, we talked about seeing the children at the cancer center. Those are stories that I try to share with people of encouragement.
Mhm.
Right. I recently was at the oncologist just in the last 2 weeks, and I went in and sat down, and there was a waiting room full of people, and there was a gentleman sitting across from me, and we struck up a conversation, and I could see that he was hurt.
Mhm.
And I shared with him my story of how not long ago I was sitting where he was sitting.
Mhm.
And I told him, look, this is a journey, and there's a path to get to where I am right now. But you have to follow that path.
Yeah.
And you have to believe that you can get there, because
Mhm.
you can. Because there are days when you're down and out and you're tired. You keep negative thoughts spin through your head. And having somebody there to say, hey, hold on a minute.
Mhm.
That's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's big. I think the biggest I think the craziest story for me is like during this most recent transplant, I was just in a really dark place. Like I was really broken down. Like the my girlfriend at the time had like stopped talking to me. Like so like I had support from my family. It was actually harder because the first transplant that I had was in the hospital, but all my friends could come and visit me. You know, they could all come in and play video games with me. We could all hang out. So that made it I felt the support a lot more. The second time was during COVID, so only my mom was able to come visit me during the whole. It was only my mom and I. I could like FaceTime and call my friend. I think we like snuck my dad into the hospital, just so I could see him because right, I was in there for over a month in the hospital. And so that was like one of the darkest times, and I remember I had been I was hooked up to like 7 IVs. Like I had like some in my port. I had a line coming out of me, and I might have had like another IV or something, but I had like all these bags hooked up to me. I felt like a zombie. And that's really where like the whole concept for this podcast came from is I felt like a zombie, and being able to like overcome that and eventually get out of that dark place that I was in, made me feel like I was a beast,
I had
and
a,
so
I had
yeah.
a feeding tube for 17 months.
Wow, yeah.
And in 17 months, I drank 59 gallons of liquid through this quarter-inch hole that's in my stomach with a syringe 5 times a day.
Oh my gosh.
So think of a 55-gallon drum, and I'm taking a syringe and I'm putting it in until it's gone.
Oh,
17
wow.
months, right? And the day that they took that out, how liberating it was to say, okay, when Dr. Sinha operated on me and and came into the room and set a platter on me and said, "You're going to eat this."
Yeah.
I had not had food for 17 months.
Yeah.
And he said, "Swallow." And I looked at him. He said, "Don't tell me you can't."
Yeah. 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 Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I drank the fluid. And then I ate food. And this feeling of euphoria, like, oh my God. And then when they pluck the tube out of you, because they literally pull the tube pop. Sounds like a cork. They pull it out of you, and then they basically plug you up. That's what they do, and you heal. And to go through that, and those will like defining moments, like, wow, I'm going to get back to being human, because dark times, right? Yeah. Thanksgiving, Christmas, you can't even sit down at the table at night and eat with family. After a while, you don't even feel like you're human anymore. Yeah. Right? The zombie. Okay? Yeah, I'm living this life, but I don't eat like a human does. Mm-hmm. Everything about me is different right now. Yeah. This is just, is this ever going to end? And those are like moments of self-pity. Yeah. You have to overcome that. You got to overcome it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big deal. Well, but that's all we have today. That's all. Thank you so much. That's all we have today for this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Thanks for taking the time, Bill, to hop on this show. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure and an honor to be sitting next to somebody like you who has been through what you've been through at your age, and to see somebody who wants to help others and cares. Yeah. The world is a beautiful place, my friend. Yeah. Beautiful place. I agree. Yeah, thanks for hopping on. Please subscribe, like, share this video, comment below anything that you would like to have on an episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Be a beast. I just want to be a boss.